Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming again. Today, in our business chat, I have invited Maxine, one of my closer friends that we've been hanging out with in the past when we were younger. But she's very great, and she currently works as a communication manager and public policy at Amazon. And we're gonna just ask a few questions about her positions and her journey in getting this position as well. So I'm gonna invite Maxine.
Hi,
Hello, Maxine.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How are you handling the COVID?
I think it's June 12th. DC just opened up yesterday. So
Oh, it
it's like
did.
our first full day. But I mean, I obviously haven't been out, but
Oh, I
it's
see.
weird. Things are opening up. So I'm just getting used to the idea of like leaving my house.
Oh, okay. So
Oh, yeah.
until now, you've been working at home then? Is that
Yeah,
true?
I've been working from home. I've gone to the office a couple times here and there,
Mm-hmm.
either to like just get a few things, or I mentioned to you off camera. I recently got a pandemic puppy, so if he's driving me crazy, I go to the office.
Oh, I see. That's great.
Yeah,
So I think we're gonna focus on the career journey that you have been. So a lot of audiences are looking for like jobs like yours, working at Amazon or Google. So we hope that this conversation that we have today will benefit them. So we're gonna have our conversation around that focus.
definitely.
So in the beginning, so just briefly tell us about yourself and what you do in your daily life as your position in Amazon.
Yeah, well, just a little bit about me. I grew up in New Jersey, and then I went to college with you at George Washington University. I have a degree in economics. Um, so I definitely am not practicing what I went to school for. But I've lived in DC since I've come out here for college in 2010. I did a little brief stint in Seattle for a couple years, but this is pretty much my home now as an adult. I've worked at Amazon right now. That's my current position, doing comms for about 4.5 years. Before that, I did comms at the Department of Homeland Security. So pretty much I've had a short career, but it's been definitely very fun and definitely exciting. So a
Wow,
little bit on me.
it's been already 4.5 years.
Yeah, I remember telling you I just started that new job not too
That is
long ago.
insane.
It's been 4.5 years. Yeah.
It goes by so fast. So yeah, how is it like working at an Amazon? So it's a very luxurious job position in my perspective, I think.
I
So
definitely super fortunate, and like being in the tech industry, like even now in COVID, I'm super grateful and really glad that like I have an industry that's reliable and I can focus on work and not have to worry about anything. But um, it's I would say we're pretty frugal. That's what the Amazon likes to say. So
oh, really?
there's no free food or anything at my company, but it's still a tech company. Like we have a beautiful building. Like you can bring your dog to work. Um, it's really interesting too. Like it's just for technology companies, just the things I'm working on, like just the pace of how fast things are, and
Mhm.
it's just a lot of different innovation. So that's something I was looking for when I knew I wanted to. When I was graduating college, I obviously wanted to work at places that I was interested in. So
I
my
see.
first job was at the Department of Homeland Security. I was super into public service. I still think it's really great to be in public service. And like being in government, especially since I went to college at GW.
Mhm.
So that was really interesting to me. And then my next job at Amazon, I just wanted to work at some place like new and fast paced and that was doing really cool things. I remember right when I joined, they opened the grocery store where you just tap your phone to walk in and you walk out. You don't have to go to the register. So I thought that was super cool. And that's what made me want to apply there. So
Yeah,
I'm really
I
lucky
saw
to get
that.
started.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
I
remember
saw
that
that
was right
little
when I started.
commercial. Yeah, back in the day, like
Yeah.
I think it was still in the early phase when they showed that
Yeah.
video.
And I remember seeing I was reading about it online. I was like, oh, I'm gonna apply there just because I wanted to try something new. And then I just got lucky. I didn't know anyone at the company. And I was in the right place at the right time. So
Oh,
it's really just a lot of luck.
yeah, that's very cool. And so one thing I have a question about you is so in the first few months working at Amazon, what surprised you the most?
It's just there's so many different things that you can learn. So at my previous job before that, I was at the Department of
Mhm.
Homeland Security. I had been there for a few years. I felt like I just knew everything, and not like I just knew the lay of the land really well. So I know you go to this person to do this. I know that we have this department. But then when I went to Amazon, like the whole world was your oyster. There's just so many different things you can do. There are so many different people you interact with, so many different teams. I just didn't know that was like jobs that existed, that kinds of worlds that I didn't know about. So that was just the biggest thing for me. Also, like I worked on a really small team in my last job, and then Amazon, my team was still pretty small, but I just met different kinds of people from all different kinds of life. So that was just really interesting.
Wow.
It was just a bigger bubble.
I see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I think about corporate, I work with one of the corporate clients too. So what happens is once you have one proposal, it takes several months to get approved. Is that something that's the same in Amazon?
No, so it depends, right? I mean, it's corporate America, so there's lots of times that happens. But for me, when I was looking for a role, a non-negotiable for me was a place I didn't want to get stuck in a place where there's red tape all the time, or you move really slow. So for me, I wanted to work at a place that was really fast-paced. And when you have an idea, you can pitch it, and then it's up to you to make that idea work. But you can move it along. And I think I really like that about my current role, my current company, where I have a lot of ownership in ideas I have. And if I have it, I present it, and then I get the green light, and they're like, okay, go ahead and do it. So it's really self-driven, which
cool.
It's interesting because it's also tough sometimes, right? Like sometimes I like wish I didn't have so much ownership, but it's cool because like I put the work, and then I get to see my work come to fruition, if that makes sense.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I read in one article, I think, I'm not sure where it was, but the unique thing about Amazon was the Jeff Bezos, when he was a CEO there, he lets some sections of his team to do whatever they want. So it's like a small business entity itself within a corporate.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know about that, but like that culture is definitely,
I think, in
our culture, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's more in the innovation side. So they let them do whatever they want and experiment a lot, which is different from normal corporate environment, I think.
Yeah, and that happens even in my role. Like if I have an idea about, I'm a comm, so I have an idea about something I want to do, and like release something or like handle PR in a certain way. They're like, okay, go ahead and try it. But if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like it's okay. Like I'm not scared that like I'm not gonna get like in trouble that it didn't work, because I learned that there was something from there that I learned that, okay, maybe that way didn't work out. I should probably try and do something a little bit earlier in the day, or to figure out. So that it's really encouraged, because you don't know if you don't try, right?
Yeah, and that it's a cool environment to work in.
Yeah.
So you get to try whatever you think it's possible, and there's no real backlash afterwards,
Exactly.
if it doesn't work. I think that's a very cool environment. And
definitely,
I mean, that's the reason why Amazon is so good right now too, because of this flexible environment where people can pitch their ideas and execute. And I think that's why it's growing so fast. What do you think?
And that's the reason why I think I like the tech companies and like doing technology so much. It's really just a place where you can be creative. Like I don't think there's a lot of jobs where you can be creative, but also I'm not an artist. I'm not like in graphic design or anything like that, but it's really just nice to think differently, and that's really supported there.
And this is just curious on our outer side.
Yeah.
So how is Amazon after Jeff Bezos left the CEO position?
I mean, it's still the same. Like I haven't noticed. I think he's supposed to be still super involved. But I obviously haven't noticed too much. So I think that's good, right? Because that means everyone is able to function as well and still be creative and things like that.
Yeah, the transition has been good then. Like from Bezos to
continuity. That's important in the business.
I see. That's cool. So communications manager, what does that mean?
I actually also didn't know what that meant until I decided to go into communications. I think I mentioned to you, I didn't go to school for comms. I went to school for economics. So, but I've always been really good at talking, and I've always been good at writing, and I was really interested. I'm just a good communicator overall. My first job out of college, I was doing like financial analytics for the Department of Homeland Security. And then I had to try and explain like the finances for a report that would go to Congress. So that's how kind of I knew that I wanted to do communications, because I was just really good at doing that. So communications manager, it really just depends on like your different organization, but you're really just project managing and like owning and like overseeing the communications function of like an organization or team. So I help the public policy team, and that's any communications that would go there. So if they're doing like a partnership with a local organization and we've done a really great donation, or there's some really great work that we've done with a team, like I'd love to make sure that other people know that. So like other policymakers know that, other Amazon customers know about that, and like make sure that people know about the good work that's going on in our organization.
So really communicating within the organization and like.
Yeah, it's a little both. So you're communicating to make sure that your Amazon employees know, but then also like you as a customer hopefully know about good things that we're doing and things that are important to us that we're trying to do as well.
I see. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're more focused on the public policy side then.
Yeah. So the team I work on, the team it's really like the DC space. I guess you could just think of it that way.
DC space. I see.
Yeah.
So yeah, another question I have is, why did you move from Washington to DC? Because a lot of people love Washington State.
I know. I obviously really liked it too. Like I think I remember catching up with you. I was like, I didn't know I was a nature person until I moved out there. I don't think. But I just wanted to. So the reason why I moved from Washington D.C. to Washington State obviously was to start at Amazon, and then I loved it. Like I love the outdoors. I like the fresh air, which people will tell you. Like people told me before I moved there, they're like, "Oh, you'll love the fresh air," and I was like, "That's all made up." Like that's elitist thinking. And then I got there and I was like, "Oh yeah, like it actually is a big difference." But I don't know if you know, my family is in New Jersey. So the West Coast was just the time difference was a little too hard for me. I'm super close to my mom. My family, they had started moving from the Philippines back to New Jersey. And like, it's just a crucial, like my parents are on the older side. I'm an only child. So I just wanted to be home, close to home. Like I was missing birthdays and that was super important to me. I was missing christenings and things like that. So I just wanted to be closer to New Jersey. And I knew DC really well. So that's a great thing about Amazon. When there's an opportunity, like they definitely encourage you to see it through. So there's an opportunity for me to move back, and that's kind of what I was able to do.
Yeah, I respect that. You really value your family and
like it's important to always, I think, like I'm always super busy with work, and sometimes I'm not like the funnest to go out with. Like, I'm always on my phone, but I think also as I've gotten older, like I know that work-life balance is very important. Like you want to make sure you're working hard, and like obviously like work is super important to me. Like I get satisfaction about doing my job really well, but I also love the fact that like I can visit my family on the weekends, or like play with my new dog, or just like hang out and like really unwind. And I think that makes me a better employee too. So
I see. So the perception of work-life balance, has it changed since after you graduate college until now?
Yeah, like I used to think, and I think even we've talked about it. Like I don't know, for some reason I don't know how you still are, but when I first graduated, I was like, I want to be CEO. I want to be comms director. I'm going to be like, do that. And I still want to, right? Like I still want to be a senior leader, but I don't think you need to work 24 hours a day to do that. I think working really hard and working really smart is a good sign of being a leader. Delegating and making sure you can pass work and trust your team. Like you're not going to get to the top if you don't have a team that you can trust, or you'll burn out trying. So I think really just like, and it comes, I think like probably like towards your later 20s, where I remember being like, I don't want to work around the clock anymore. And like, that's not a testament to me not being a hard worker. I used to think that like being a hard worker and being smart was like always working and doing things all the time, but it's not. It's working smartly, making sure you're time managing, and like your overall personal health and your family health and like your work health are all in balance, and that like brings your career to another level, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really agree with the delegation part. So until recently, I've been just pushing really hard, staying up very late with videos and all the marketing stuff. And
I think it's like glamorizing, right? Like it just depends.
Glamorizing, yeah. But
it depends on like what your friend circle is or what you were conditioned to like be around. But I do remember being like, even in college, like I had friends who were like up studying at 4 a.m. You were studying at 4 a.m. Like, oh man, I'm slacking. Like I really should study. but it's just different, right? Like it's different ways of doing that.
There comes a point like where you just have to stop working and
and
really,
like it's not good for you.
The delegating part, I realized if someone else who you delegated to does like 70% of your capability, then it's fine. And
and like
make up for it later,
And you're able to like put your finishing touches and your feedback at some point too, which
Yeah,
you'll
definitely.
be able to catch.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's really good information that you gave to us.
Yeah.
So next will be, so in a corporate world, how does it work? Like moving up the ladder is like the common term, but
I
what
know.
are some of the tips you can give to the audience that will help them advance towards where they want to be, like CEO or manager positions and stuff like that?
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind is like you're your best advocate. I'm Asian. I'm like a people pleaser. And I think that's like part of my culture where like, I don't know, growing up where like I want to please, I can just bring it back a little step. Like I always wanted to make sure my mom was happy. And I always wanted to make sure like my friends weren't mad at me. And like I was the one who was like never a problem. And I think that really transferred in the way I was looking at things at work. Like I never wanted my boss to be mad at me. I never wanted to say no to a project.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted something and someone told me no, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Like it's fine. But I think as I've kind of worked a little bit longer, like being your best advocate is really important. Like trust yourself and know what you want. And of course, like it's not always gonna work out for you. But if you really believe in something, speak up and say your opinion, right? Because that's one of the only way, like no one else has that viewpoint except for you, and that's what you'll get noticed for. And then two, if you want to do something, if you have an idea and if you want to go try something new, like say that and like have that open dialogue with your manager. It's like uncomfortable sometimes just because I know for me sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to be the problem employee. Like they have so much to worry about, and now I'm asking them if I can go do this project that's probably not convenient for them to let me go do that project. But first of all, I don't think it's all in your head most of the time. Like 80% of the time, it's probably in your head that like you're causing a problem. Like just ask and like be professional about it and ask. Mm-hmm. And then second of all, like your manager is there to manage you and like to support you while you grow your career. Like you're not in charge yet for a reason. So like it's their job to help develop you. So they're not able to do that if you're not honest and telling them what you want in your next steps, what you want to do. So I really encourage being clear and doing that. And then three, like just again, like look out for yourself. Like if you want to do something, say it. And like obviously I'm not saying like just do it when they say no, but I think really just like being open and communicative and like really thinking and talking about advocating for what you want. It's like probably the most helpful. But just because like that wasn't how I was thinking of it when I first came into the workforce. I was like, it can't be a problem. I always need to say yes. Like I don't know. And like now I still like say yes most of the times. Like, but also it's really the yes and we can do this, or yes I can do that, or just really thinking of that method.
Yeah, just the negotiation, right?
Yeah, it's really a big part of, and I think that's just a sign of
and
maturity.
I think in Asian culture, we are told to obey the
and like I really had a hard time with that.
Me too. I still do sometimes.
Like, are you sure I can say no? And like even now, where I'm like, oh, that's not a good idea. I like have situations where I'm like, something will happen, and like, they'll present to me a solution, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't think that's a good idea, but that's way above my pay grade, something I'm thinking of like that. Right. And then lo and behold, something doesn't work out. And then they're like, do you have any thoughts? And it was the idea I had when it first came up to me. And I was like, I should have just said something. And like, it would have saved the company time. And it would have made me look good because I had spoken up with this good idea. So like, I definitely still do that today, but it's hard to get over that and really go through with it.
I really think so. But you have to get through it. Otherwise, you won't get there where you want,
Exactly.
Position. Okay, so let's move back a little bit. So U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and before that, you had a job at the DOJ as well, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of internships because I think that's a tip also, like make use of whether you're in school or like you're in your hometown figuring out like a side job, make use of like where you are. So like obviously we're in DC, so I really wanted to make use of like unique experiences you can only get here. So I when I was in college, I tried to get internships at the Department of Homeland Security, DOJ, the Peace Corps, things like that. Just something that's really unique and really, it led to my first job. Like right out of school, I had a job at Homeland Security just because I interned there and they knew me well. And then as I was still looking through like early entry level jobs, they were really interested in my experience in the government because not a lot of people have that. So that's something you probably want to make use of.
But even if those positions are available at proximity, but what's what surprised me the most for you is like you found your way in there pretty quickly, like in starting in freshman year, right? Like,
yeah, and I think again, like it's super. I think it's a lot of luck. Like I
you
just,
think so?
I, put a lot of luck in- I obviously put a lot of effort in, but you knew I worked there. But like I don't think you ever saw me do like 100 million job applications and like redoing your resume. And I think that's a lot of things people don't see behind the scenes where
Mhm.
it'll work out for you. Like I'm 100% a full believer of like sometimes it sucks, and if you're looking for a new job, you might be going through 5 or 6 different job cycles where you're getting through interviews but not getting the actual job, or no one's calling you back. But if you're putting in the work and like you've put in the time to like have a really good resume and you've crafted it really well and you're getting really good at like knowing your skills and what you have to offer, I think it'll work for you.
I see.
So I think like that's just one of those things that like work out really well. But yeah, yeah.
But that's amazing. But the beyond like submitting resume, what are some of the tips you can give to the audience? Like,
Yeah.
what should they do to get into like DOJ or Homeland Security? Because
I think it's really
they're
like,
very competitive positions, right?
yeah, I think it's really networking, a lot of that too. So I met, I think my first internship at the DOJ, I met through someone from school. So I knew someone who worked in the government. I asked them like how they did that. She told me the same thing. They do a lot of like networking events because it's DC. So there's a lot of young professional events. There's a lot of college student events. If you're interested in that, you should go. And I remember going to one of the events, and then they happened to just have like a hiring manager there at the time. And I said, oh my God, like I really want to work there. Like, I don't know if like you have any internships open right now. And they didn't at the time, but
Oh,
I gave her my email, and she emailed me a couple weeks later saying that they were opening something up and then I should apply because she remembered talking to me. And then that's kind of how it happens. I really think networking is a big deal and really helpful on that. And like, you don't have to be DC to do that. I know that they do like different government professional, like networking events online now, or like groups and like newsletters and things like that. I just think making use of those resources really help.
why did they think they picked you though?
I don't know. I hope they must. I don't know. Like I really hope it was just like I was able to really talk to them about what I wanted to do. Like I was super clear that I wanted to do. I like was still in school, and I was very clear. Like like at the time I'm a junior in college. I'm graduating soon. I don't really know what I do, but I have an economic background. I'd love to work in federal government. Like, and I just was super personable and really explaining and making that connection with them. And I think that's how they remember you too. Like, meet all these people and just be yourself. Like, I hope they chose me because I was myself and I was super clear, but like my background, and I was just a little bit unique and a little bit different. Like, I'm a little weird sometimes. So I think that I was just memorable for them. And I think that just helped me get that connection with them.
I see. Okay. Well, thank you for joining our podcast. Anything you would like to add before we close?
No, I just had a good time. So thanks for having me.
Okay. You don't have to leave the chat. I'm just going to end the live show,
Cool.
and we can continue talking.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.